Today's episode of Crime Crazy is brought to you by Audible. Now, fans of Crime Crazy Podcast can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/crimecrazy. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from, and you can listen on your iPhone, your Android, your Kindle, or your MP3 player. www.audibletrial.com/crimecrazy. Do you know, I think every single podcast right now, like independent podcast, is 2 or more girls talking about true crime while their dogs hang out, and then they edit out their dogs.
Good.
I mean, I think that's
Good.
really it.
I'm glad we fit in.
We do. We're not very unique in that sense. Welcome to Crime Crazy, the weekly true crime podcast with Erin Plein
And Jordan Middleton,
where we prove
that we know nothing about our legal system,
but we're still crazy for a good true crime story.
Yes.
It's been like 2 weeks since we did that.
Yep. I almost forgot my lines, and I have like 5 words.
And you,
so.
you have the short part.
I have like nothing.
The thing is, if I think about it, I can't do it. But if I just start talking, it just happens.
Maybe it's like the back of your brain taking over for you.
Yeah, it's like my subconscious knows
Yep.
it, and the rest of me has no clue.
Yep. It's funny because now I start doing that because I was watching Criminal Minds, like, duh. But
like, duh.
Dr. Spencer Reed said, "Oh, I'm actually not focusing on it, so my subconscious can work it out for me." I'm like, that's a good way to avoid your problems.
Right. I'm having this major issue, or there's this big project at work. I'm gonna go
and not
watch
think
TV
about it.
and not
Yep.
think about it. That's how it's gonna get solved.
Oh God.
I feel like you probably have to have a better brain than mine for that to work.
Well, yeah, his brain is different.
His brain is different.
Well, we can't all be lucky.
No. So I'm not even going to ask how your week was. I'm sorry about your week.
Yes, it was not the... I was going to say a really bad thing, but hold on. I don't know who listens. So hold on. It was not the greatest. I'll leave it there.
Right. It was rough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Weeks will come and go, but I'm just need my sanity back.
I do have to say that we are amazing. Because even with that week, with you out of town for how many days?
8?
We're still not even going to be late on our episode.
Yes.
I just want you guys to know how committed we are.
Yeah. And then even with everything in your upcoming week, we'll still be on time for next one.
3 open houses in the next 3 days.
I don't even know.
Well, one of them's today.
Yeah.
Then tomorrow. Then the next day.
Is yours today? Whose is today?
Toby's.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yep. Then we have freshmen. Then we have juniors and seniors and sophomores the next day.
Yeah.
So.
Ugh.
Ugh is right.
Well, we will always stay on track until one day we're going to be like, fuck it, I'm over it.
At some point, we could be like, if we ever miss an episode, we'll just be like, well, that was the end of season 1. We'll be back in like 3 weeks with season 2. Surprise. There were 27 episodes in season 1. There were 448 episodes in season 1.
It's like, oops, here we go.
It's been many years. Our lives have totally changed, but...
Revamp.
Right.
Hey, even Live PD is done with their season. And I was like, wait, what am I going to do? Like, why did they stop?
Surely there are still crimes.
But they're coming back in October. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll wait. But
I saw somebody else on Twitter who was counting down to them coming back.
Yes. I can't. I followed them on our Crime Crazy Twitter account. So we
there you go.
See it. Oh, that's so funny. I'm excited, though, because you know how I always try to find like a little thing to tie it into our episode number when it's like a good number?
Oh, yeah.
Well, because today is episode 25.
Woohoo!
I found a cute little tie-in.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm excited. but you have to go first because
okay.
I have to be patiently waiting.
Yeah, I felt like we should do something really special or whatever, and then things just didn't. So we'll have to, maybe episode 50 will be special.
Next season.
Actually, episode 42 is going to be the big one.
Oh,
just wait for that one. Yeah.
That'll be cute.
That's when we're going to answer all of the questions, like the universe and everything.
Yes. We'll be like, guys, we know the secret. We've been working on it. Right. Now we're going to share.
We've kept it safe. All right. So I do have 2 stories today. You want me to go? Are we ready? Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
No.
Okay.
I don't have Wawa today. Just to fill everybody in at home.
I don't either, but I never do.
Yeah. All right.
I don't actually have anything. I don't have my gin and ginger. I don't have...
You can't today.
Coffee. Well, I
coffee
could. I'm just taking him to a preschool orientation. I could have a drink before we do
If your mother hears this. Just kidding.
It's like hours from now. All right.
That's funny. I'm excited to hear your stories.
Okay, so my story, when I started researching, I thought it was going to be one of those like badass criminals that I was kind of impressed by and like almost didn't really want him to get caught, whatever. But then I read more of it, and it turns out this individual is like half badass criminal who's like really kind of cool, but he's also a no good rapist. So he deserves anything he gets.
Yeah.
So, this is the Ninja Burglar. Isn't it a shame they wasted that name on this guy?
Yeah, they did. They should have saved that in their back pocket.
Right? There should have been another Ninja Burglar who, like, gave everything back or something. I don't know. All right. So, in 1989 in New York, this man, his name is Robert Costanzo, was in the home of an elderly woman, I think burglarizing her, and he raped her at knife point. Aww. He was 19 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So after his like diving straight into crime, he went down to Florida for a while, and he got a job at a Toyota dealership. But while he was there, he wasn't any better behaved. He continued to like burglarize houses and raped at least 4 other women at knife point. He left behind a lot of his DNA on the 4th victim, who worked at Walt Disney World.
You can't do that.
Right? There's like some special protection for those people. Like you can't
kingdom member.
Right.
Like I feel in my head that's a kingdom member. Like you can't do that.
That's not okay. It's not even possible. So he left behind a bunch of DNA, and the police sort of started catching on, and they were getting close to closing in. And so one of them called the dealership where he worked and was asking questions about Robert Costanzo, but he didn't realize that that's who he was talking to. Like, I don't know if he answered the phone with a false name or whatever it was.
Or just said, like, Chevy dealership or something.
Like,
right, didn't say a name.
He probably said Toyota dealership, though, since it was a Toyota dealership.
Oh, my God. I don't know why in my head I was thinking Okay. Guys, we're moving on.
He might have been trying to really throw him off. It's like, Ford dealership.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
So that, of course, tipped him off that the police were closing in. So he went back up to New York. And in December of 91, he was in New York, and he was doing a drug deal in Harlem.
Of course.
And the police showed up, and there was a shootout, and he was arrested.
Oh.
So he was convicted of the 4 rapes, weapons charges, drug charges. In 1992, he was sentenced to 19 years, and he got parole after 12 years. The reason that it was so easy to get him for rape, for rape and weapons and drug charges, all of that, is he actually just pled guilty. He pled guilty in exchange for getting to serve his time in New York instead of in Florida, because a lot of the crimes took place in Florida, because he wanted to be near his family who lived in New York.
I was going to say, what would be the reason? I'm thinking like legal system, or like the prison might be better, or I guess less hot. Or something.
Well, it'd probably be less hot. I guess it'd probably be cold.
I'm trying to think, like, what else would it be?
Why
and of course,
would you
it's
care?
his family. Like, why didn't I think of
Right. Because that's where he was originally from.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to say, I'll just pause here and say that this is actually supposed to be sort of answering a challenge because Brian Williams had challenged us to find a story about a smart Florida criminal. So this guy does lots of his crimes in Florida, and up to this point he's really stupid, but he's about to get really smart.
Oh, man.
So, although the Florida part is over, so it's not really answering the challenge.
But kinda.
So, when he got out of prison, he stayed in New York, and he worked as a welder for a little while. But then his employer learned that he was a sex offender. I guess maybe he had lied on his application, and he fired him.
Okay.
So, over the next 10 years, he spent his time committing more than 160 burglaries.
How?
Over 10 years. Like, that's...
How do you not catch him?
That's a lot. Well, here's how they didn't catch him. So, almost all of the burglaries were in Staten Island, but occasionally he would go to Connecticut. He would wear an all-black outfit, including a black mask and hood, which is how he earned... Well, part of the reason that he earned the name Ninja Burglar.
That's barely a ninja.
Right.
I mean...
Well, no, keep waiting. All right, just listen.
Okay.
He would drive around during the day in, like, really nice neighborhoods, looking for the perfect house where he thought there'd be a lot of, like, nice stuff, watch the people come and go. And then he would very patiently wait for a particularly dark night. And on that dark night, he would go to a neighbor's house, steal a ladder, bring it over to the house he was going to rob, climb into a second or third floor window. He always wanted to go into the master bedroom because that's where most people kept their valuables. Plus, he liked to be in houses with people. So he wanted to, like, up the risk, but also, like, have that sort of power.
He liked that, that adrenaline type. Ew, what a freak.
So they said roughly half the burglaries he did were in occupied houses.
Oh my
God. He would go through the room, search.
No one shoot him.
Search. They never knew he was there. He would search the room.
I would know he was there.
Take stuff while they slept. Sometimes he would get into the room, like maybe before they went to bed, and hide out. And then he'd watch them, like while they were having sex or while they were sleeping. Like, well, because he was primarily a sex offender. So
so he was like he was already weird in his head.
Yeah.
Ew.
They said sometimes he would just stand there in the corner and people would walk right by him and they wouldn't see him because he's just hiding in his shadow, being perfectly still. And if you don't expect to see someone, you're not looking for that shape.
Know. Okay, so pause just really quick. I feel like I would know if someone was in the house because I always feel like I see stuff out of the corners of my eyes. So I'm always looking. And I have a strong sense of smell.
Oh, yeah, he must have not. Yeah, I would too. I'd be able to smell someone before I'd be able to see him.
I can't tell you the story. I'll tell you later about how I smelled something, and I was like, I have to brag about this. No one else smelled it, and I'm like, I told you. But and then on top of that, like, no one had a dog.
I guess not. Well, I mean, he did like stake out the houses ahead of time.
He like
so he
preyed
probably
on them. He probably picked the right houses and stuff. All right, sorry.
He knew. So it really gave him a feeling of power. One of the reasons he broke into the master bedroom instead of one of the other bedrooms is because that's where most people would keep like their jewelry and their valuables. And he was, a voyeur as well as whatever else. If he found, when he was in the house, if he found a safe while he was searching, he would then come back another night with the right tools to open it. So he was like extremely patient and planned everything out and made multiple trips.
That's all he was doing. So he had no worries.
Right. In fact, they said that other than, like, if you didn't know this was going on, and of course no one knew it was going on, it just seemed like he was a regular guy with like a night job. He would leave every night and go do whatever. And then he would come back and he'd have money and maybe he gambled or maybe, every once in a while he'd really have a lot of money and then he might go through a rough time. Wow. They believe that the 160 burglaries got him $4 million in cash and jewelry and valuables.
Oh my God. For a second, I thought you were going to say cash and prizes. Because,
cash and prizes. And cash and prizes.
But that's insane.
$4 million over the course of 10 years, but still, I'm not going to make $4 million in 10 years.
Holy crap.
working full time. One time they nearly caught him.
Erin's about to change her profession.
Yes, I'm gonna start climbing into houses. No, I'm really not. They caught him, so he fled into this area, like a field beside a school, and he covered himself with leaves, and it was just the police chasing him on foot. It wasn't like they had the dogs and all that. And he just lay very still, and they searched for him, and they never found him. He was really good. He was like the world champion of hide and seek.
Where's the bloodhound? Where's the dogs?
Well, he was in a house. I guess maybe somebody called the police. The police showed up. Like, they didn't think they were going to need a dog. There wasn't a dog there. And then I'm sure he was gone by the time the dogs
Me being an avid dog lover, I'm like, they like to
just
hunt
bring
and
the
find
dog.
stuff like that.
Right.
Come on.
He never left any forensic evidence at any of the scenes because he had learned his lesson after his rape conviction.
Yeah.
When he left, he would take the ladder back to the neighbor's house. And so nobody even knew that that's how he was getting in, through an upper story window.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looked like there was no like messed up door or lock or anything. They couldn't figure out how he was getting in. There wasn't a ladder on site. Like, nothing was out of place.
Dang.
He never left a single fingerprint or any DNA.
Mm-hmm.
He made sure to not go on a particular night of the week or stick to a particular geographic area. Like, he mixed it up so the police couldn't find a pattern.
Wow.
He lived in just a middle-class neighborhood with a woman and a child, who I assume are maybe his family, but they never named them in any of the articles because they weren't guilty of anything. They probably actually were surprised at the whole thing, and just seemed like a regular guy.
Wow.
So the public started to, which means probably the media started to call him the Ninja Burglar. And when Costanza was finally caught 10 years later, he said that was actually like a source of pride for him. He thought it was awesome that he got like such a cool.
Criminal Minds says that the ones that are so full of themselves don't name them because then they like thrive off of it.
That, right? Well, in October of 2014, the police in New York, who were assigned to Staten Island, met with investigators from New Jersey and New York, not necessarily about this case, but they just had a meeting and it came up. And a couple of the detectives just happened to talk to the right detectives from another precinct.
Yeah.
Who said that they were investigating very similar crimes in their area and they had a suspect, and it was Costanzo.
Oh.
So they compared their cases and they decided that, yes, in fact, they were probably the same person.
Oh,
and then they started looking at other areas and found out, he had really like spread it around and there were lots of different places.
It was the whole tri-state area.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Dang.
So they placed him under physical and electronic surveillance. So he left. Like, he knew they were closing in. He left. He went to Connecticut. And when he was in Connecticut, he got a little bit sloppy. Like, it could have been the pressure or just like the change. Like, they forced him to change.
He didn't know the area and like he was
right. And probably if he had to like pick up and leave, he needed money fast. And so he didn't do his normal like patient, whatever. So he broke into a house in Farmington. And the house had a floor safe in a closet. And so normally he would come back another night with the tools and open the safe. But this time he was impatient. So he went to the owner of the house, who was an older woman, and put a knife to her throat and forced her to open up the safe.
Ugh.
And then while she was kneeling by the safe, it had been empty. Like, he took everything out of it, put it in whatever he carried stuff in. She was kneeling by the safe. He stepped away and made a phone call to get a ride to come pick him up.
Called an Uber.
Yeah, she heard the phone call, and apparently he didn't reach the person. There was like voicemail, and she could hear it, like it was turned up loud enough. So after he left, she called the police, and she remembered to tell them about the phone call.
Yeah.
So they looked at phone records from all of the towers in the area, and they found a cell phone that had called the New York City area code from because it would have been out of place in that because he was in Connecticut. So he had called another man. And so they went to the man's house. And of course, at first he was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't get a phone call, whatever. But eventually he was like, okay, I drove Robert Costanzo to somewhere in that area, and then he called, and I picked him up. But I swear I don't know what he was doing.
Oh, my God.
Okay. But that was enough for them to be like, oh, well, let's run this name. And then, oh, my gosh, he's wanted for all of these burglaries. So they tried to find him, and of course he's not stupid at all, and so he was difficult to try or to find. But then they realized that he was a registered sex offender.
Oh.
And he had not verified his address every 90 days, which he was required to do by law. So because of that, he'd violated like probation or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So the U.S. Marshals got involved.
Oh, shit.
And by that time, with all of those people looking for him, they finally found him. So in November 2014, they arrested him. It turned out that at the last house he'd burglarized, the one that really got him caught, he'd also left behind DNA, and they were able to match it to him.
He got sloppy.
Yup. So, let's see. A lot of the burglaries that he had done, because it had been a 10-year spree, they were more than 5 years old, which is past the statute of limitations, so they couldn't even charge him with them. But it didn't matter. He agreed to plead guilty to 3 burglaries, and he got double digits years in New York State prison. So
wow.
And it did say that the woman and the child came and watched. There wasn't much of a trial because he pled guilty and they just assigned him time. But
I wonder what he would tell her when he would leave, like, oh, I'm working a security job tonight. Like, what would he tell her to leave the house? Because I'm assuming they were probably romantically involved.
I think I would guess. It didn't say the child, the girl was his, but he lived with her for pretty much that whole time.
Yeah.
So it didn't sound like he was like a roommate or a tenant or anything like that. It sounded like they were family. I mean, they came to his trial. So,
I'd be like, where are you really going?
Right. Well, maybe she knew.
Oh, she might have.
It didn't say one way or another. So, anyway, that is the Ninja Burglar.
That was a good story.
I really liked it. I mean, it's horrible. I'm glad that he eventually got caught and he is now going to just stay in jail.
Yeah.
But
I used to watch that TV show. I don't know what it's called, so don't think I'm going to tell you. But it's something about they'll like, oh, my house is so protected, blah, blah, blah. And then they have an ex-burglar go and break in the house.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, my God, I never even thought someone could do that. And all he does is like climb up one of the posts, hop on the balcony, like the roof or whatever, and crawl in the secondary window. And they're like, oh, I never thought to lock those windows.
Right.
I'm like, guys, what are you talking about? So I always liked watching that because now I'm like, I'm kind of like, who could break in here, like locking everything or putting
if they're more athletic than me, what could they do?
I know. I'm like, because I could not like parkour my way up the side of a house.
No, this dude could.
Yeah.
And then he could just stand in the corner and be like partially invisible.
Ugh.
That
freaks me out.
That series that I was reading, the Fablehaven series that I talked about for like weeks and weeks, because there were 5 books and I read it for a long time. A couple of the characters could be invisible if they weren't moving and you didn't know they were there. Which I thought was really, like, at first it's like, well, that's no good. Like, that's so specific. But if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know, I don't know that there's anybody else in this room. If they're not moving, they could be here.
Yeah. Ew, that's creepy.
Right? Oh, I really hope not.
Ew, that's creepy. No.
Anyway.
That's crazy. My story
has to do with 25.
Kinda. But
kinda.
Yours kinda did, too, in a way.
It did?
Yeah, because I clicked onto it and I was like, "Ooh, I gotta remind her of this." So
wait,
I could not. Oh, I'll explain. You'll understand. So I could not find any. I was trying to find a murderer who had 25 victims exactly.
Ooh.
But there was either just under 25 or like 30 plus. Like I was like, guys, I don't need that. Wait, let me correct that. I don't need someone to go out and kill 25 people. But
I'm not requesting that it happen.
So then I was trying to figure out, like, what other way could I play this that I haven't done before? Because I did, like, the 23rd state in the union and, like, for 23. And, you know, so I'm trying to figure it out. So I did what happened 25 years ago.
Okay.
So because I'll be 25 this year, I said,
true.
This is the year I was born. I have to find something.
That's true.
So my murders happened in April of 1992.
God, you're a baby.
You're a baby. Anyway.
It was 10 years after I was born.
Also, I named this kind of a funny name because I always do that because that's what like makes me happy after like right before all of the bad shit happens on my page. And I named it You'll Be Sorry. Ewell.
Oh no.
So that's his last name.
So my friend Mandy is like, yes, a pun.
I love it. I was like, you'll be sorry. But he's sorry now. So
good.
Our murder of the day is, his name is Dana Ewell, which, boy, Dana, okay. Not judging here.
Says the girl Jordan.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm always like, what?
And the girl Aaron.
Anytime I meet a boy like Stacy or Courtney,
right?
Or any
Ashley.
Of those. Yep. I'm like, how is that ever a boy name? I don't know.
Well, the one that always gets me is Evelyn. Is it Evelyn? Isn't that I think that's a boy's name. All right, now I'm going to mess it all up, but I'm pretty sure that was originally a male name that now is almost entirely female.
I knew Lindsay was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the name Evelyn, so.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that was originally only a guy's name. Anyway, continue with your story. That has nothing to do with anything.
He was 21 years old at the time, so he was just a little baby babe. And what he was, well, hold on, let me say this a different way. Oops. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences. Like,
right.
I hate when they do that because I'm like, you can't bring them back to life and be like, serve it again.
Right. I think at that point it's just like insult to injury kind of thing. Like,
but because 3 people died, each one was a life sentence.
Right.
So who died was his dad, his mom, and his sister.
Holy cow.
Yep.
Oh, that's not cool.
So his family was pretty wealthy. His dad was a multi-million-dollar businessman. And what I guess he wanted was a piece of that pie. So what was used was a 9mm pistol with a homemade silencer, and all I could think of was a potato because I think I saw that in a movie once. Yes. I'm sure it's not what that was, but I was just like, oh,
you
they
just
used
stuck a potato on the end of it.
I was like, oh, okay. But
afterwards, the inside of the potato is all nicely cooked. Tastes a little bit like gunpowder.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat it. So who used that was actually his friend and classmate at school, Joel Radovic.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that's his last name.
So okay, so wait. Joel actually killed them.
Joel actually killed them.
Okay.
So the only reason he killed them is because he was promised some of, I don't know how much of, I couldn't find it, of the $8 million fortune he was supposed to inherit, plus the estate, blah, blah, blah. So then this other guy comes into the mix. His name is Ernest Jack Ponce. He was the one who got the weapon and disposed of it. Like, he took it and buried it somewhere after the murders.
Far too many people are involved in this crime.
Yeah, but
there's so much opportunity for someone to tattle.
Well, that's what Ernest did. He actually said, well, I'll give you my testimony if I don't get anything.
Sure.
Pretty much. And that's exactly what he did.
If I was involved in a crime, that would be me. Just so you know, don't ever do a crime with me. I'm the one that's going to be like, what kind of deal can I get?
He was charged with murder, but they dismissed it because he gave him the testimony and pretty much tattled on everybody. But when he, in his testimony, it sounded like he kept slipping up and saying what he saw with his eyes and stuff, like as if he was there, because he knew a lot about how the dad died and what position, like how the gun was in a certain position when the mom died. He knew a lot,
right, that he shouldn't have known.
Yeah, but then he gave this, you know, they made this agreement, and this is, you know, But that was all dismissed, and now he's an attorney.
Wait, what? Yep. So he didn't even get caught. Like, he wasn't even charged.
Nothing.
I would think that should just make the deal void, and you should be like, well, now you've just confessed, you
because
idiot.
he literally kept slipping up and was like, well, when I saw,
when they told me about how,
yeah. So now he's licensed attorney. That should not be a thing.
So okay. Just as a side note,
would
you want him as your attorney or not?
I don't know. Like, he got out of his own thing before he was an attorney.
Right.
But
he's skilled at, like, manipulating people. He got a deal that he should not have gotten. However, he's also a murderer.
Yeah, he definitely had a big role in this, and he walked away. When the other guys
I guess it depends on what crime you've committed.
Yeah, that's to a point, but I bet he's a lawyer for, like, really bad guys.
Yeah.
So then that's how he's popular, and he always has money, and, like, I mean, I don't know anything about him. I'm just really guessing at this point.
He's, like, now the guy that the mob hires when they need to get...
He's on the inside
Actually, he's probably, like, some business attorney with no business whatsoever. Like, nobody ever comes to him. They're like, we don't want to be in the same room with you.
Yeah, it's like,
you're scary.
I got a parking ticket. Can you help me?
Right.
And he's like, damn it.
Did you kill anyone?
Yeah. Oh, man. So that's Ernest. He was in, he was out. That's the only part about him that matters, is that he got the weapon and he disposed of it and he tattled on everybody. But
he probably did more than that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you slip up and say, well, then when I saw, like, you don't accidentally say that when it's a murder.
Right.
Or 3. So at the time of the murders, Dana still lived at home. And the home was in Fresno. Yeah, Fresno.
Did you say how old he was?
At the time, he was 21.
Okay.
So he was in college.
Not unreasonable. Right.
Yeah. So in high school, he would always brag and be like, well, by the time I'm 25, like, give his, like, whole 10-year plan or whatever it was. You know, like, by the time I'm 25, I'm going to be a multi-million-dollar man and, like, fuck all of you guys type of attitude. And then by 21...
So he was super popular.
Yeah. By the time he was 21 and he wasn't even close to being multi-million-dollar man by himself.
Sure.
Because he was still supported by pretty much his dad.
Mm-hmm.
So in college, he would still, up to that point, brag about being a millionaire and saying he was a stock market whiz and that's how he makes all of his money. He claimed to own his own airplane transportation company. And just, like...
So he was just a liar.
Yeah, he lied and bragged about stuff that wasn't his. So once his dad found out, he said, okay, well, you're cut off. And that was the summer of graduation. Yep. So, because of this, that just added fuel to the fire, and he got even more angry that, I guess, killing them was the only way to get his $1 million.
Right. Well, and to, like, keep up the lie that he had going.
Yeah. But, as I wrote in my notes, plot twist, his father's will stated that he'll get the money in small installments.
Well, yeah, but not if he killed him, surely.
So they were murdered in 92. He did not get arrested until 95.
Oh,
so everything went along like as if, oh my God, someone broke into the house while I was out.
Oh.
They all died. Where's the will? Like,
where's the will?
Know? So
where's my money?
When they told him, well, you're going to have to get everything in installments, he was so pissed off. He hit his fists on the desk. He was yelling at everybody, screaming, making a scene. And everyone was, like, really scared of this reaction because he was more angry about this than he was sad about the death.
Right.
He wasn't in mourning. It seemed like he didn't go through a grief process. Like, it just, I guess, really cued people off. Like, oh, this isn't right.
Something is wrong.
So it said his uncle, I don't know which uncle, but...
Like, which side of the family.
Yeah.
Right.
But an uncle said, because of this reaction alone, I'm guessing more family was in the room. So maybe it was his dad's brother or something, you know, like if they're reading the will.
Right.
He went to the police and said, because they were still investigating it, he's like, you know, you might want to check on him a little bit more.
Right.
I don't know what alibi he gave, but you need to check on this because his reaction was very unsettling. So as soon as they looked into it, one thing led to another. That's how they found... the tattletale. He sang like a freaking canary. And then
I like that we're not calling him a snitch, which is actually a term that just drives me crazy.
No,
but he's the
tattletale. I like it. So then, the trial ended up being like 8 months long. And that's how he and Joel Radovich, or whatever his name is, Radish, ended up
Joel Radish bitch.
They ended up with, I can't even. They ended up with each 3 lifetime sentences.
Gotcha.
Of course, he didn't get any of the money. And I was like, well, now you're such a millionaire, you're gonna be in jail the rest of your life.
Right.
So that was my my little thing. So
you're 25.
My 25 years ago. And let's see. So if he was 21 in 92. Oh, no, just kidding. I was about to be like, maybe he was 25 when he got arrested. But no, he wasn't.
Was he 24?
Yeah, almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, your age.
And then, yeah, I could never do that. Like, I'm not that. I don't feel like I'm, like, that good. Like, I would be like, whatever.
I'm not even organized enough to kill people.
But he was put up for parole, and then they denied it.
Well,
so
good.
They, like, I guess kept trying, and they're like, no, you can stay there for killing everybody.
I feel like if you have 3 life sentences, you shouldn't be eligible for parole.
Right?
Or even if you are, you should have to, like, try 3 times. You should have to get 3 different parole boards to be like, yes. Like, your first life sentence, your second life sentence. That just seems like...
It's like, imagine getting parole on the first 2.
And not the third.
That would suck.
Be like, yes, I'm going to get out. Nope.
So that was my little crazy story of, you'll be sorry.
Yeah.
He's sorry.
Nice.
Now.
All right, so that was 25. What else had to do with 25?
Well, that your story, you mentioned 1992, and I was like, oh, I have to tell her that was 25 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But yours took over a lot of time. So.
It did. Well, yeah, because he was a robber for like 10 years.
Crazy.
All right, I have one more, but before I do that, I wanted to do our little Audible plug. Yeah. And actually, I wanted to give a shout out at the same time because I didn't actually ask this person for permission to say her name, so I'll just say Sharon R. Mm-hmm. On Facebook sent me a message, and she said, you should recommend, and then she gave us a series. So it's Louise Penny is the author, and they're the Armand Gamache series, and he's an investigator. It's like a murder mystery. I did a little bit of like Googling right before this.
Yeah.
Actually looks very cool. It's a small town, a stranger shows up, and then somebody ends up dead, and the stranger disappears.
That reminds me of the crime I didn't do.
Oh,
it's totally side note, but I was watching this weird Alaska show on TV in the hotel, and they're like, I don't want to say like bush people, but they live off the land, like they don't have a whole lot, whatever. But they were talking about how this family moved into this town and started just like taking over, and like they would like sacrifice a goat on this guy's front yard to scare them away, and like they were crazy. So I want to try to find it. But since they live in the middle of nowhere, I don't know if I'll be able to find anything.
How much evidence there
But
is.
his name was Papa Pilgrim. Like, how fucking creepy
that is creepy. That? I don't think this one is about pilgrims. I don't know. But it is a whole series, and it actually sounds really good, which is good because at some point my job will slow down and I'll have time for audiobooks again.
True.
So our listeners can get a free audiobook by going to audibletrial.com/crimecrazy and downloading an audiobook, and you get a 30-day Audible trial, and it's awesome, and you should do it.
Yep.
And it supports us, which is even better.
Yeah, because we need it.
We do. We do. Working or not. So anyway, that's my Audible plug. And then I have one more story. Okay. So my last story to sort of wrap things up is about Susan Lucille Weish.
Okay.
Yep. She was born April 24th, 1976 in Houston, Texas. And I have a very tiny bit of background. It's actually sort of a tragic bit of background. This is what is included in like 90% of the articles about her. But at 17, she was a topless dancer for 2 months. That's her history. So I guess, I don't know.
I would be pretty sad if that was my history.
Like, the one thing we know is that at 17, for 2 whole months, you took your shirt off.
And waved your boobs around.
Right?
Okay.
Anyway, in 1997, she met Jeff Wright while she was working at a restaurant. So actually, she was also a waitress. We could have included that in our history. Anyway, by 1998, she was 8.5 months pregnant with their baby.
Oh.
When she married him, they had a little boy named Bradley.
Oh.
And then in 2002, they had a little girl named Kaylee.
Hmm.
In January 13th, 2003, she lured her husband to bed.
Uh-oh.
She tied him up.
Uh-oh.
And she stabbed him 193 times with 2 different knives.
Holy crap.
You know how long that would take?
First off, overkill.
I can't even...
Usually, women don't stab.
No.
Because that's a incompetent,
and it's very messy.
Ew.
And it requires a lot of upper body strength, which I feel like if a woman is lacking strength in an area, it's probably upper body. I don't think I have... I'm almost positive I don't have the arm strength to stab anything 193 times.
One, if you have adrenaline, yes, you can.
That is
but
true.
This
that
is planned,
true.
So no, I wouldn't.
Maybe once you get started.
I don't even like shredding chicken for the dogs when they're sick because I get so tired.
Your arms get tired. Or like putting your hair in a braid.
That, or like curling my hair. I'm holding it there. I'm like, wow, my arms are so tired.
I like that's what we're focusing on. She was a topless dancer for 2 whole months and she had some killer arms.
Apparently so.
So anyway, then she buried. It's so tragic. It's
the
not
kids
even
were probably
funny.
in the house.
Maybe it didn't actually mention anything about the kids.
Dang, if they were that young.
Yeah, because Kaylee would have been 1 and Bradley would have been 5.
Oh.
So, yeah, they probably were. It was just a regular day. She buried him in the backyard.
Oh, my God.
She repainted their bedroom to cover up all of the blood. Went on as if...
the carpets?
I don't know.
Would she just like Dexter style?
And the bed.
Ew, yeah.
I think the bed, she didn't throw it out or anything because they actually used it in trial later. They brought it into the courtroom.
Oh my God.
So I don't know if she just didn't sleep there or if she just like got a mattress pad or what the deal is. But anyway, she then went after she buried him and she repainted the bedroom and like she was still acting like nothing was wrong. He was still at home, whatever. She went to the police office and she filed a restraining order against her husband that she had just murdered on the grounds of physical abuse, saying that ever since early in their marriage, he was physically abusive to her and she was afraid of him and she wanted a restraining order. Well, I guess people who are in physically abusive relationships still have kids with their abusers. And that happens. Anyway, only 5 days after that, she felt so guilty or stressed or whatever that she called her attorney and asked him to come to the house. And when he was there, she told him what she'd done. So she confessed. So she and the attorney...
tattled on herself.
She tattled on herself. She and the attorney called the police and she confessed to the crime and she said it was self-defense. So... she was expecting to get out of it. I mean, she had gone and she'd like laid the groundwork by filing a restraining order. Granted, it was after he was already dead and she knew he was dead.
They would be able to tell if they found his body. Like I don't know.
193. Well, here's what she said. At trial, she said that she couldn't stop stabbing him. She said, I couldn't stop stabbing him. I couldn't stop. I knew as soon as I stopped, he was going to get the knife back and he was going to kill me. I didn't want to die. So, like, she just was crazy. She told the jewelry. She told all of the jewelry. No. She told the jury that the night of the murder, her husband was on a cocaine binge and he was violent and he had scared her. And that's why she had to kill him.
Oh, my God.
Her mother and a bunch of other character witnesses came up and testified that she had been bruised and he'd beaten her and that there was all of this physical evidence.
Goodness.
However, the assistant district attorney said, no, she's this scheming woman with fake tears, that she had seduced her husband and convinced him that she wanted to role play and tied him up and then murdered him in cold blood because of the life insurance money, which was $200,000.
It's always life insurance money.
Yeah. So the jury deliberated for 5.5 hours and they found her guilty and they sentenced her to 25 years.
Wow.
In 2005, so a couple years later, she had an appeal and they upheld the verdict. In 2008, they appealed again. This time, Misty McMichael, who is apparently the wife of some Super Bowl champion who I assume is named McMichael, who used to be, so Misty used to be Wright's fiance before, I guess before the marriage.
Yeah.
Anyway, testified that he was abusive to her, but that still didn't sway the judges. So
because you not only killed him, but you buried him and waited 5 days to say
and
something.
repainted the room and got a restraining order and like planned everything out. So in 2009, they did an appeal just about sentencing, so not about the verdict. And the judges in that case did find that the original lawyer had not really done his job during the sentencing stage. And so they granted her like a sentencing appeal. So they said that the lawyer should have used evidence from the medical examiner that said that the husband did have a ton of cocaine in his system. And he wasn't tied to the bed, that he had defensive wounds on his hands and the back of his legs that made it sound like he couldn't have been, at least the whole time, tied down to the bed.
Oh, wow.
So since he didn't bring those things up, they did give her a shortened sentence by 5 years. So 20 instead of 25.
Oh, my God.
She has been eligible for parole since 2014, but when her first parole hearing came up in 2014, they denied her, and then this summer was or is going to be the next time she's eligible. So there's no news on that yet, but she may get parole or may not. She maybe is not even behaving in prison. Who knows?
Yeah. That's crazy. So the moral of this story is don't let anyone tie you to a bed.
Yeah. Yeah. At least not in a way that you can't get out. Like there should be some sort of emergency something.
Break glass in case of emergency.
I was thinking more like a knot that you could actually untie.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, it sounds like there is a case for him being a complete asshole and probably an abuser. On the other hand, she didn't fight back and hit him over the head with something and then call the police and tell them what happened.
Have you ever seen the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez?
No, but
okay, but you know it.
I
right?
do, yeah.
Okay, so she is very abused. She has one kid with him. Then she starts having to deal with his mistresses and stuff like that, and he starts lording the baby over her and whatever.
Right.
And then, spoiler alert, if you guys haven't watched this, it's from the 90s, so catch up. But at the end,
pause right now, go watch it.
She through the whole movie, she escapes him and his little minions are trying to get her and whatever. At the end, she plans it out so well that no matter what, even though she went there to kill him,
right,
it was all self-defense. And this lady could have watched this an hour and a half movie and learned
it out
because everything was set up perfect. She staged a lot, but I mean, he was an asshole, so whatever, he died.
Right.
But you could have just watched a J-Lo movie and not end up in jail for 25 years.
Right.
Or 20.
Well, I mean, I'm not in an abusive relationship. I don't know what I would do if I was and what would trigger me and what would be the final straw and all that. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to speak to that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I mean, she wasn't particularly dumb about it, except that, I mean, because she killed him. She got rid of all the evidence. She got rid of the body. She sort of made herself an alibi with a restraining order. She had proof-ish of abuse, or at least witnesses to the abuse and all of that. But I feel like she did too much. Yeah. She needed to, if her plan was to murder him, whether or not he was abusive, if her plan was to murder him, she needed to murder him and then just be like, oh, well, he attacked me. I killed him. And then I think she would have gotten away with that.
Not I need a restraining order. He's dead, but I need one. And then I need to repaint.
That makes you look super, super guilty.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it was kind of I mean, he was
If I was on that jury,
night.
I think I'd say that she was guilty.
Right. But the quilt.
No, not the quilt.
Not the quilt.
I almost forgot. The quilt. That freaking lady. She's probably in there making quilts out of whatever she can find.
In prison. She had to like tie them together.
Ugh.
Because I'm sure they didn't give her a needle and scissors. She's like tearing them up against the edge of her bed.
It's just glued together.
It's glued together with like toothpaste.
Yeah.
She's made it out of all of the shirts of people who have kicked her butt in prison.
Yeah. It's like Elmer's glue.
Oh, gross. I don't think you get Elmer's glue in prison.
I don't know. I was trying to think of a glue that you can't sniff.
Right.
Glitter glue.
Glitter glue.
I don't know, that's not the sound that glue makes, but guys,
That's
I tried to do it, and you guys can't see me.
Like a roller pen? Is that what you're thinking?
Like glue dots.
Glue dots.
Oh,
I don't know
poor
how
lady.
we got on that.
Anyway, bringing it back.
Right. So 2 Pods is not over, but it is kind of over.
Yes.
Sometime in the next 3 days we'll be on it. You know, it'd be really embarrassing if we somehow got left off that list
and
we've been talking
promoting
about it.
Girl,
We are supposed to be there tomorrow, the next
strongly-
day, or the next day.
Yes. So guys, keep an eye out. If you don't see us, strongly worded emails all
Right.
around.
No, 2 Pods is great. Actually, they've done a ton of great podcasts.
Oh yeah.
This month. So I don't know how often they're planning on doing their campaign. Part of me is like, they should do it every month, and part of me is like, they're gonna run out of podcasts. Although I don't think that's true. I think there would be an infinite number of podcasts.
Yes.
So, which makes us very happy that you're listening to us.
Yes. Thanks.
So yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
We are going to record again in just a couple days because it's Monday as we're recording this.
Yep.
I'm going to stop talking now and edit and publish this so you can listen to it.
Well, guys, thank you for listening.
Yes. Don't commit 25 murders just so Jordan has a story.
Please do not. And also, I told Mike that he was going to end up on next week's episode because he was coming at me with the saw.
Wait, what?
Like, jokingly, but it's like a hedge trimmer, but it's like a little baby one because I'm scared of like the really big ones. And he kept zzing at me, and I said, you better stop. And he kept trying to like, I don't know, zzz at me.
Right.
So I said, you're going to end up on next week's episode. And he just looked at me, and I was like, that's a good threat.
Yeah.
Like, don't, or I'm going to tell on you.
Either as the criminal or as the victim. Dun, dun, dun.
As both. Get out of my face.
It will be self-defense. Jordan has researched enough crimes that she knows what to do.
I flat out said that to my cousin's husband. He said, oh, don't text that. He said they could use that against you. And I said, I run this shit. I know not to text anything. I said, I'm not an idiot. And all I could think about...
2/3 of my stories are about people who text their shit.
Yes. I was like, I'm good. Believe me. I know. Oh, okay, guys.
All right. So till next time.
Don't end up on next week's episode with Mike.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Crime Crazy. We hope that you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed making it. If you like our show, please tell a friend, or better yet, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app. We really appreciate your feedback and want to give you a shout out on the next episode if you leave us a review. If you leave us a review somewhere other than iTunes, just let us know. If you loved our show, consider donating to our Patreon. We have lots of great surprises that we want to share with anyone who supports us. And let's be real, it's really just an excuse to send you cool stuff. Thanks again, and remember, even though we really have no idea what we're talking about, we'll be back next week to talk about it all over again.